continue. All light sources that we know can be divided in two groups, natural and artificial light. The natural ones are the candle, of course, oil lamps, and simply everything that radiates from an open flame. Within the artificial ones, there are some specifiable groups, and each has its own feature. The incandescent bulb, the energy-saving lamp with all its moldings, and finally the halogen and the light-emitting diode, the LED. Because these two last ones are the most qualified ones for our work, with shadows and other images that can be created with light, as we know, we sometimes have to decide which one to take. What is the better one? Depends on what you need. Let us compare these two different light sources. We start with the halogen light, and the first obvious characteristic is the color. The halogen ranges from, well, I'd say quite neutral to warm. If we have a look at the quality of the shadow, if we come closer to the light, you see, even though if I have a distance of say 5 centimeters, you still see the hair on top of my hand. You could take a pencil and draw the lines of my hair. A very good quality of the shadow, very good shadow to work with, but the light is not that bright. It's enough for an audience, say 100, 120, maybe 150 if the room is very dark. In opposite to that, we have the cold white LED. You see there's a lot of blue in it. It's a bit similar to daylight. If we have a look at the shadow, it's a very strong contrast, very black shadow, and the quality is not as good as the halogen. You see there is something on top of my hand, but you could not take a pencil and draw the lines. The shadow is not as sharp, but as long as you're not very close to the light source, it's a very good shadow you can work with for big audiences, 300, 400 people, no problem. And we have a third one, which is a warm white LED. It's a bit similar to the halogen, a bit darker, warmer than the halogen. The shadow quality is the same as the cold white LED because it's also an LED. And well, it's just another option. And if you see the three of them all together, and I come with my hand closer to the light source, you see the different colors appear around the edge of my fingers. You see the cold white, you see the slightly brown, warm white of the halogen, and the darker one of the warm white LED. And if I turn off the warm white LED now, it's the blue of the LED, the cold white LED, and the warm of the halogen left. If I turn off the cold white LED, it's the halogen, and I need this hand to turn off the halogen. And we come to the second important point. It is the heat. Here the LED is obviously much better. It gets a bit warm indeed, but not really hot. The halogen runs hot within quite a short time and therefore has to be handled very carefully. Another disadvantage of the halogen is its kind of radiation. That consists of a very narrow twisted wire made of tungsten that rips when it falls to the ground, which means it's then just simply dark in your story. Can't happen with the LED. That is resistant to any kind of shock because the radiation point is a small crystal that starts glowing when the power runs through. Another issue is the power supply itself. There are no halogen torches available anymore, which means they all run with electric power and have a wire, the halogen lights. LED torches are available in a great variety and different brightness. Using them, you can move freely without having to care about any wire. But you depend on the batteries, and they are much more expensive than the electricity you would need, and their power does not run constantly. But after about, say, 2/3 of its use, the source is getting less and less bright. In our workshop, we use special so-called LED high-powered chips. They need wires and electric power, but they are as bright as no other means concerning their tiny radiation point. The halogen, though, remains unbeatable concerning the clarity of the shadow. The decision which light to take also depends on the story you tell, of course. What is the atmosphere in your story? And anyway, in the long run, there will be no halogen lights on the market in a few years, probably. And then, the decision is anyway obsolete. That was it.